Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure my sound is up. Big shot to Tim Canova for coming on to the Soapbox yesterday. I hope that interview I thought went well. It's funny, my mom watched it and she said, I love that interview. I have an uncle that is in Florida, and so Canova is actually in his district. I didn't know that at the time. My sound. That's why I do this. I didn't know at the time that my uncle lived down there, lived in his specific district, but yeah, he does. So big shout out, thanks to Tim Canova for coming on to the Soapbox. And in a glancing way, he's somewhat of the topic for today. Just to get this out the way, next week Jordan is going to be here, and week after next, Professor Horn is going to be here. Both of those are going to be really good. Professor Horn is going to be mind-blowing, at least in my mindset, because I love history, I love political science. Also, big shout out to my audience. I often say that, and when I watch shows and shows continuously do it, I often think to myself, too much, but that's just too much for me. It feels like I don't like this exchange of cash. The exchange of cash makes me feel dirty. That's all. And so when I see somebody like Sam Cedar at the end of the show asking for cash after he's having this fucking awesome show, like he would be having a conversation with a libertarian, eviscerating the libertarian at the end of it's we need money to keep the show going. And that's true. The shows do depend on it, because let's be honest, if there was nothing backing it, the show would just kind of collapse on its own weight. People need to actually be able to eat and so forth to do content. But I always felt dirty doing that. I'm talking about my audience in a different way in this case, though. My audience oftentimes says, hey, look at this, or sends something, hey, this is fucked up, or hey, take a look at this clip, or take a look at that. And in many real terms, a third of which I end up using. Like, I say, wow, that's interesting. And looking further into it and be like, yes, I want to do a show on this. This is fascinating. Or maybe adding elements into a show. You guys are immensely helpful on multiple fronts. So when I say thank you, I say it, I mean it. And I'm saying that specifically today because there are like 3 items that came in the mail that I am probably going to use today. So I will give those people shout outs at the time in which I do their content. Right now, this is something specific to me, something that's been on my mind, at least for the last few days. Oftentimes, people say, we want change. It's like, you say you want a revolution. Great. Now what? It's like you're at the point of, yes, let's burn this shit down. Now what? I gotta go to work tomorrow. I have a kid I need to feed. I have a husband that likes to do certain activities, so that needs to be supported. You say you want a revolution. Now what? Now what? This is especially true for the left, who's in this camp of we want change. We believe the government can do big things, but we feel pushed out, stamped out of the political process. I've often called the left the political battered spouses. The battered spouses, the political equivalent of a battered spouse. They're with the Democratic Party, hell or high water, slapped, beaten, strangled once in a while when he gets angry and he gets drunk and he's particularly in a bad mood. He had sex with the maid. He didn't wash his hands and shook your hand knowing that he didn't wash his hands. He cut one in the elevator because he thinks it's funny to blame it on other people. He's a bad guy. And yet, you've associated yourself with him. And you said deep down in the husk, in the crust, there's a good person there. I don't know what's deep down in anybody. I know what I see in the tangible world. That's what I interact with. And it looks to me like the left are the political battered spouses. But the left has always had this problem. They're the political battered spouses for a reason. Nobody ends up in a configuration of energy for no reason. If that configuration exists for a reason. Why are blacks, Hispanics, labor so associated with a party that is so in the tank for corporate interests? Fact is, they're terrified of Republicans. Democrats or lefties go to Democrats for the same reason that the Syrian refugees prefer Assad. Trying to get across to you that they're bad guys. They go to them because you feel like they're going to protect you from Republicans, which means Democrats ended up in a weird particular arrangement that allowed them to still take corporate interests, be obsequious to cash, and essentially in the ways that Republicans were, while at the same token keeping the left in check, because they have a boogeyman, a man at the door that will be worse, at least in regards to the aims of the left. What I am going to tell you today is, oftentimes when people regard me, but what do you do about it? That's a great articulation of the problem, but what do you do about it? Let's be honest. Let's come to some base level of honesty when we're having a conversation. In that particular moment, I didn't necessarily know what to do, but what I did know, as a flat fact, certainty, that doing the same thing that you've always done is not going to change those things. Meaning all of those people, vote Hillary, vote Democrat, vote this and that. It's a continuation of the exact same thing. You know how you don't change things? Doing the exact same things that you've always done. Fact is, the exact same things that you've always done allow the things that's taking place to prosper. I'm highlighting Tim Canova. I'm highlighting him because him making the decision to run as an independent, and even to some degree, Ronan choosing to run as a Republican. Odd choice. I don't necessarily know how this is going to work out, but he did it. Tim Canova, I think, has more teeth. Well, the reason why I say that is the model that the Democratic Party has used to cow the left has been the Republicans are worse. If we build one concentration camp less, we're better. Just from the logical definition of building one concentration camp less. I'm saying that needs to be challenged. When labor, the left, when they make a fuss, at the end of the day, regardless of all the bitching and protestations, Democrats say you have nowhere else to go. And labor for the last 50, 60 years, the lefties, have said, you're right. And they bow their head and they pull the lever for whatever random Democrat that was going to come in and work against their interests. I'm saying that model needs to be challenged and broken. Nothing changes. For as long as they can say you have nowhere else to go, that model will persist. That model needs to be broken. You break that model by not cowing to that particular model. If we are going to burn together, then we're going to burn together, but you're not going to prosper with me being complicit in you prospering, giving you my vote. That needs to be broken. I would encourage all of the lefties, all of the people who are running, don't whine, don't complain, don't bitch and moan. Politics, there's no crying in politics. Yes, maybe on election night when Hillary Clinton lost the reality show host and couldn't come out and actually give her concession speech, maybe there was crying at the Hillary camp that night. But under normal circumstances, there's no crying in politics. It's blood sport. They call it blood sport for a reason. Some people get their heads shot off. In our case, we're talking about a political revolution and trying to get change in a system that is relatively ossified. How do you do that? You don't have the labor unions. Those are gone for the most part. They've been broken and destroyed. In large part for assisting or associating with the Democratic Party, allowing those things to take place, while at the same token still continually giving your support to the same party that stood by while you were broken. Voting blocks were completely eliminated or not necessarily paid attention to, meaning when African Americans in the Florida election going back to Gore versus Bush, it was like 200,000 didn't get the opportunity to vote because of the messing around that Jeb Bush did during that period. You know who didn't stand up for him? Democrats. Al Gore gaveling one person, one Democrat after the next down. And I'm saying the rest of the Democrats outside of that delegation, a small black delegation that was trying to get this on the map to say, look, these guys were cheated. You need to get these people's votes counted. And if so, Gore would have taken Florida. Gore gavelled each and every one of those people down who was trying to get a senator, and not one Democratic senator would come to their aid in order to contest that election. I guess I'm trying to get this point across to you that you don't have communists, you don't have socialists, you don't have any of these forces that for normal forces that push and constrain and control a party to try to get that party to behave a particular way. You have corporatists, and you have a cowed left within the party who whines and cries and bitches and moans that they're not being treated fairly when they're running into democratic elections. Stop whining. It's unbecoming. And nobody cares. Do something different. If you're trying to get change within the Democratic Party and they're blocking you from getting change in the party, do something different. You know what you could do? You could say, fuck all, I'm running as an independent. If I lose in this primary, I am running as an independent. When I say political revolution, God damn it, I mean political revolution. They're going to whine. They're going to howl. They're going to bitch. They're going to, oh my God, I can't believe this person is running as an independent. How dare you, sir? How dare you? But why are they bitching and moaning and freaking out like this? They're bitching and moaning and freaking out because they understand that it's very possible that even though that individual may not be able to win, they have the capacity to make them lose. The capacity to make them lose is not necessarily the most glaring weapon in the world. It's not, it's not Excalibur in the sense of a beautiful weapon where to take it out and people, no, it's a brick. It's a brick. It's a guy with no shoes on holding a brick. But it's a brick nonetheless. And in this situation, it's a brick that we should be willing to use. I would say each and every candidate who's running in the primaries against a Democrat, if at 3 a.m., if your God addressed you, whoever that God is, whatever this mythical God is, addressed you and asked you to account, if the things that you would account would say, yes, human beings are worth fucking a lot more than profit, and there is no situation where I would allow even one human being to be impoverished when somebody else has billions. If that's you, then you're running in a contest. I would say to understand that you are fundamentally different than the party system to which you're running in. And if you want to change that party system, doing the exact same things that you've always done and being silenced and pushed out of the process is not the way to go about it. If you're talking about a revolution and you're talking about a bloodless revolution, at the very least you have to be willing to break some eggs from the standpoint of politics. The capacity to make them lose is a fucking amazing thing. It's not the greatest weapon, it's not the most beautiful weapon, but it's a weapon nonetheless. If you honestly, really, truly want things to change, and you want a political revolution, each and every person that's running, a lefty, that's running in the Democratic primaries, if you lose those primaries, don't stop your campaign. Take that campaign into the general election. And I understand the consequences of that. Don't misunderstand me. Your campaign should reach for the left. Your campaign should reach a little bit to the right. Your campaign should reach to Democrats. It should reach to everybody. And the amount that you get may allow that Democrat to lose. Good. It adds teeth. It's not cowardly. It's not crying. It's teeth. It's biting. It's baring your teeth saying, fine. We didn't get a fair shake in your process. Fine. Fine. We're going to take it directly to the people. I'm something else. I don't know what I am, but I'm something else. And I'm going to run against you and Republicans in the same way that Democrats are something fundamentally different than Republicans. I am fundamentally different than Democrats. Bitch and moan and cry all you want. I am running. If in one contest after the next throughout the United States, these assholes lose their seats, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to howl, they're going to bitch, they're going to moan, but they're going to respect you a little bit more. And what if this happens again? They're going to respect you a little bit more. Not to mention, you may start getting more market share in these elections. Meaning, one or two things is going to happen. The Democratic Party is going to get a challenge on its left. Meaning, it is going to die or it's going to change. I'm okay with either one. I understand what I'm saying from the standpoint of political fallout. Fact is, and let's own up to this, allowing things, and this is going too long, but allowing things to go the way they've gone, it's like leaving a room to get junkier and junkier and junkier, never cleaning house. And the day that you go to clean house, you're like, oh my God. And then you get to the point of saying, fuck it, I'm just never cleaning the room. It's too bad. Anything, any configuration of energy that has been allowed to prosper for a while without being challenged will be difficult to challenge. There will be fallout. There will be consequences. When Martin Luther King made the decision to go down to march, he understood he was going to get hit with a bat. He understood there were going to be dogs after him. He understood there were going to be water hoses. He understood that the configuration of people that he was taking with him was going to get mangled by a bunch of racist cops. He knew it. He used peace as a weapon for a reason. Somebody had to take the hit. Somebody had to take the lift. And what does that mean from the standpoint of political consequences from a society that has just allowed this to go in the way that it's gone? If you want change, then you want change. And the only way, the only path you're going to get change is through the burning husk of the Democratic Party. Either it dies or it changes. It's not that I like it per se. It's just the only path I see that actually has a potential for winning. And by winning, I mean political consequences for the United States. Large-scale changes in regards to this country tilting to the left. I understand that in the beginning, right-wingers may win. That is the political hit. That is us being hit with bats. That is us, meaning the public itself, getting sprayed with water hoses, and all these other things as we try to deal with the consequences of allowing our country to just float in the way that it's floated. Challenge the Democrats in the main election. Challenge the Democrats from the left in the main election. That is what I would say. In one city and state after the next, in one contest after the next, challenge them from the left. Run in the primaries so people who know who you are, challenge them in the general. Those people will still know who you are. Some may vote for you, some may not. The point is not necessarily to win. The point is to make them lose. Yes, if you win, fucking A gold star. But the point is being willing to allow them to lose. They fail philosophically. They need to fail in the ballot box to get it across to them that they fail philosophically. You say you want a revolution. Here you go. Here you go. Not saying it's nice, not saying it's pretty, not saying the consequences to the world in the immediate is going to be great. One thing it will do, though, it will definitely shake up the political process. And it will get across to a certain faction that they are unwanted, that we have teeth, and that we're willing to go down, set the whole shit on fire if they're not willing to come to you. I'll leave it here. I'm not going to take audience comments on this one because I have several videos and I'll take audience comments. I'll see you guys in like 20 minutes. Thanks, everyone.